besides maybe the impact that it has on all of us, every one of my children currently in 3 different moistas have Rabbeim, Moras that are either married to or former younger lights. The impact of the Kol goes far beyond the walls. They're down in NB, so we appreciate our Blejer coming to join us. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I think this we become a little minig. We try to we come down. We borrow Rabbi Shrek, so I have to pay back. So I hope these are new ideas, but I've shared them before. But I think they're new because definitely I've been working on some new ideas. So what I wanted to talk about is giving some practical advice, practical ideas about how we can utilize the time that we have between now and Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, to take advantage of the time, primarily through the means of what we try every year to make Kabbalahs, to do something. And oftentimes, it doesn't work, it does work, we don't necessarily feel like it works. I want to just give practical advice. How is it that we can make a Kabbalah that could work, that we feel accepting upon ourselves, doing a Kabbalah that could work to really make impactful change? So the Rambam, it's a very, very well-known Rambam. The Rambam says that Afal Pi, that Tkes HaShofar, Bershon Gzes HaKosafu, Aval Remez Yesh Boi Kloimar Uyu Sheni Mishinaschem and Edomim to the Maschem Elul HaShoichim Esa Emes Pahavli Azman. So the Rambam calls us Yeshenim and he calls us Nirdomim. And each of these represent 2 different challenges that we have. We're on the one hand Yashin, we're sleeping, and on the other we're Nirdom. Nirdom is like a really deep sleep, almost like quasi into between Bein HaIlamis. Like Nirdom is we're totally out. And in fact, by Yoina, we read on Yom Kippur, Yoina, they came to me and said, Malacha, Nirdom, you're not awake at all. You're not realizing what's going on. So I wanted to focus on Nirdom. What makes someone a Nirdom? Nirdom is that they're so gone that they're not paying attention to what is going on around them, and they need to be nis'or hakitz nis'or completely. What Nirdom comes when a person has yush. Yush, I gave up. I don't think I can do this. And the question is, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? What gives a person that feeling of yush, that I can't do it? What gives the person the feeling of yush, I can't do it, is because I've tried many times and it hasn't worked. So it's the feeling of failure. It's failure. I've tried and I can't do it, and it doesn't work. So therefore I don't even try. The yashin, he's kind of still there a little bit. This guy gave up already because he's tried so many times and it's not working. So the question is there an eitzah to take the Rambam's advice and say, if it's not working, and we're suggesting maybe the reason is because I've tried, and therefore I've used, I don't think I can change. I don't think I can do it. So, what's the eitzah on that? Now, the truth is like this, is that one thing sometimes people try to do is that they try to take a Kabbalah that has no shaykhis, it's not connected at all to what their real problem is, right? So, and this is a good question, which is, what should a person be working on? Let's take a step. What should a person be thinking? What should I be doing? So, there's a Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon says what the person is supposed to be working on is the thing which is the hardest for them. The thing which is the hardest for you, that's a siman min hashamayim, that's what you're here to step up to the challenge and defeat, and conquer, and win, and move forward in the area that you struggle in. So a person struggles with the way they speak, their anger, the way they communicate with their spouse, with their coworkers, etc. They struggle with what they look at. They struggle with the way they waste their time. They struggle with what they listen to. They struggle with the way they daven or learn. They struggle with a lot of things, right? They struggle because they can't wake up early, or they struggle because they go to sleep too late. So now what happens? I can't get up early. I can't. Whatever the latest minyan in town is, I show up 10 minutes late to the last minyan, and I've been trying I can't get up early. So what happens? Okay, fine, but at least I'll give tzedakah this year. Right? So the point is, it's a nice thing, but you're not addressing the area that you're struggling. So this is a reason to give up, because I've tried many times. So you try something else, but that's not the point. The point is not to move away from your problem. You have to address your problem. But the problem is, I had a kasha, that this is a steer to Rabbi Salanter. Rabbi Salanter says that you're supposed to work on the thing which is the easiest for you, not the thing which is the hardest. So the teretz is obvious, is that one thing is, what area do you work on? You work on the thing which is the hardest for you. But the question is, how do you work on that? What's the method? Rabbi Salanter is saying the method is you have to start with something easy within that area. And the Vilna Gaon agrees to this. And there's an unbelievable lashon from the Vilna. So let's take the guy that can't get up, right? So, you know what? This is the 10 o'clock minyan. He shows up 10:10, exactly on time, every single day, right? So he's that guy. So now he's like, okay, that's it. I'm an eights guy. It doesn't, right? So, but how do you become an eights guy? You just went to sleep, right? It doesn't work. So the Vilna Gaon himself has a word over here that addresses this exact point. His word is like this. I just had it open, and now I lost it. Pa'amim, there are times, she'adam maschil leilech b'derech hayashar, someone's going in a good way, ve'achar kach pirish mipnei shekasha lo moed, and he cannot sustain it. He tries to do something, he can't sustain it. V'hu misrayim al Hashem, shelo haya lo siyata dishmaya, and he has a taina on Hashem, why didn't you help me? Chazal say, habol taher, mitzayin oisay. If you're a bolatar, you're coming to mitar yourself, you're coming to make yourself better, you're coming to do something positive, Messiah, you get siyata dishmaya. Well, Hashem, what's the deal? I'm trying, and you're not helping me. Zok the gra aval be'emes hu be'atzmei kilkel. No. You yourself messed yourself up. Because he jumped too many steps. He wasn't realistic in creating a plan that's going to work. So he decided overnight to change completely, and he's going to become the Nate's guy. And then he wakes up, and this, Motzei Yom Kippur, he got it, but the next day he's already, what's going on? So he says, Hashem, I was balatai. So the Vilna Gaon he says it more explicitly. He says, Lo yisayu. You don't get siyata dishmaya for that. Because that's not even called balatayr, because you're not being realistic. So the Vilna Gaon himself, even though he says in Yoina, that you have to address your issue. You have to address something that you struggle with, something that you feel that this is something that I need to fix. But he understands that you need to do it one step at a time. You need to do it one step at a time. And when you do it one step, if you take a realistic step, then you get siyata dishmaya. But without that, you cannot get siyata dishmaya. So therefore, what should this guy do? So first of all, he shouldn't just decide, okay, I'm going to wake up on time from now on, early, because this was probably not the first time he tried that. But he has to now be a little more creative. So make a plan. So you know what? Maybe I'll try to get a chavrusa a little bit before davening. If I get a chavrusa a few minutes earlier, so I'm getting up early, I'm going to be on time now, and I'm getting a chavrusa, and I'm going to try to find the guy that's also not sleeping late, because otherwise we'll just both sleep late, and this way no one's bothering us. So try to get someone that's going to be there, and this way it's only 15, 20 minutes, but I have a realistic plan how to do this, right? So if whatever area that a person is thinking about, then in order to develop a plan, what they need to do is they need to think about an area they need to work on. And not just, I'll take a nice Kabbalah that has, addressed a real issue, but address it with one step at a time, with a small step. And the Gra says explicitly, someone that we tend to jump steps, that creates yush, because then we don't get siyata d'shmaya. Hashem doesn't help us in that plan, and then we give up. So this is why even a small step in something that a person struggles with is worth tremendous amount, because now you get siyata d'shmaya, and you'll be able to accomplish. The second reason why a small Kabbalah is very good in an area that a person is struggling with is because there's a Gevaldika Nesivis. The Nesivis is well known for his Pirush HaShulchan, but he also has a Pirush HaLashas. And in that Pirush HaLashas, he goes on the Gemara in Yuma. The Gemara in Yuma says, G'doil Tshuva Shemevi Refuah La'olam. That's the Lashon of the Gemara Yuma, 8th parak. So G'doil Tshuva Shemevi Refuah La'olam. Tshuva is great because it brings a refuah to the world. So what refuah are we talking about? Ezer refuah medubar kan, he says. What are we talking about that tshuva brings a refuah to the world? What are we referring to? So he says the nesivis. We're talking about people that they have a bad teva. They have a nature that causes them to struggle in certain areas. And that nature that they have, whether it's their bad temper, or it's a taiva that they have, or it's a certain nature to be an ayin ra, to not look at the jealousy, bad nature that they have that brings them down. So he says that if a person does tshuva in one step at a time on that particular type of area, that midah, maybe refuah la'olam levasoif yishtana tivoi. In the end, this teva will change, and it brings a refuah. It brings a refuah to him on his bad nature. Not only is he going to get siyata d'shmaya, and not only is he going to eventually build, but his teva itself changes. His teva itself changes. He will no longer struggle with that. A person can reach a level that all of a sudden, that thing doesn't talk to them anymore. It's just like not. Right? We all have those things that some people struggle with, and just for me, for you, it's not necessarily an assignment. That particular area is not a challenge for some people, right? A person that was struggling with something for years could find themselves that the chus of the tshuvas, maybe refuah la'olam, it could change their nature, and that will not become their struggle. So if a person can go and say, you know what, I've tried all these years, and I'm just not going to. I have no self-control. I burst out at everybody that, person walks around their house and they stub their toe. What's the first thing you say? Who put that there? Why don't you look at where you're stepping? Right? Well, why is everyone always blown up at everybody else? Right? So the teva of the person is I can't. I have no self-control. So, you know what? I have no self-control, but this year I'm going to say Parak Shir every day. Well, it doesn't, you're not addressing your issue. So, figure out a way to make a small Kabbalah. And what this does is, first of all, you get Siyata Shmaya, and Levasoif, maybe Refuah, and it changes the person's actual nature. So this is one Yesoid, according to the Vilna Gaon, and Rabbi Salanta, and everyone agrees that a person should be looking for something that they are struggling with. It's something that is my issue, and I'm near them on that because I've given up. Basically, I've given up on that. But no, even though I gave up on it, it doesn't matter. A person should find a way, one step at a time, to make a change. That's Yesod number one. Yesod number two is that. And this again, I don't remember if I've shared before. But in the last kufa, I've been thinking about this. Is that Yesod number two is that a person makes a Kabbalah. Sometimes there are certain areas that a certain type of Kabbalah that's like an all-encompassing Kabbalah. there's certain types of Kabbalah that a person can make, that the nature of the Kabbalah is that it could change the person. Because it affects them in a way that it's an all-encompassing type of Kabbalah. And I had two stories with that. One is a story that there was a guy, this wasn't with me, but I heard the story. There was a guy that was in yeshiva, he was learning in the Mir yeshiva. Apparently, bright guy, good guy, best guy in the shir, whatever. And he had a great relationship with his Rabbi. And, he eventually left yeshiva, came back to America, got married, eventually was very successful in what he was doing, and making money and everything. And eventually, suffice it to say, he didn't look much like that Blejer that he did when he was the top guy in the shir anymore. He wasn't really learning, barely coming to shul, made it in time for the kiddush, but that's about it. Like that, and he didn't really anymore have a kesher with this Rebbe. There's one thing that was going on is that he and his wife, they were married for 5 years and they did not have children. And so on one visit to Eretz Yisrael, he decided he's going to go visit this Rebbe that he was close to. Obviously, when the Rebbe saw him, and it came out that he's not exactly holding where the Rebbe would have liked for him to be holding. And it came up about this struggle that he and his wife have. And he says, Rebbe, you want to make a Kabbalah, whatever, and So he says, okay, but a Kabbalah means that you're going to do it no matter what. That's what that means. Okay, look, are you ready to do it? Yeah. So I want you to be makabel to daven Marav with a minion every day. So he's thinking to himself, that's pretty good. A pretty good deal. Marav with a minion, all my problems will be solved. And the Rebbe says, every day means every day. No exceptions. That's what a Kabbalah is. He doesn't realize what that means right now. And he's like still, okay, I think it's a good idea. He gets home and he tells his wife, and she's like, well, we go out to eat once a week. You go to the, you go to the Yankees, whatever. You have business trips to places in, what do you mean minion every day? I mean, you could catch twice a week Marav, but like every day it's impossible. When he says, I already accepted it, listen, whatever, she says, fine, because she knows that these things usually last 2-3 weeks, and so she's not, but if she's gonna do it, okay, let's see. And he's like really taking to this thing. And, so he starts making arrangement, rearranging his schedule, he starts going, and eventually, after 2-3 months, he's doing this, and he comes to shul, and comes for the 10 o'clock Marav, he sees that the guy's learning there, so he's like, I may as well come at 9:30. He gets a chavrusa before. Then he's, and this is so weird. I'm just doing Marav. I may as well do Shacharis already. So by the time the year's over, he's already has a chavrusa before Shacharis. He's learning Shacharis. He gets minyan in the office, mincha, and he's davening Marav, and he has a chavrusa. And now he has a problem because he has this great deal of opportunity for business in Thailand, and he has to travel there. So then he's like, okay, he books the ticket, he's all ready, and then he's like, Marav, what's gonna happen? I can't stop now. So he's like, okay, I think there's a Chabad in Thailand. So he calls up the Chabad, and he's like, do you guys have minyan? Do you guys have minyan? He's like, you mean like not in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? Like, what do you mean? Like a daily minyan? Like, no. So he says, well, are there Jews around? There's plenty of Israelis. There's a lot of like Israeli guys, former army guys. So he says, okay, so what could I do to get them to come? He's like, you just need good music and food. We'll get you a minyan. So this guy sponsors a dinner for all these guys with music. He gets there. He gets his minyan. And the rest of the year goes by, and Hidaka doesn't miss a minyan. He doesn't miss a minyan, and he was a completely changed person. Okay, so to me, the end of the story is not important. He had a baby, didn't have a baby. That's not the point. The point is, like so did he have a baby at the end? So I said, it's a much bigger chiddush that a person can change than that Hashem can make a nace, right? It's obvious Hashem gave him a baby. The chiddush is a person can change. That's the bigger chiddush. So that he was able to change. So what did the Rebbe say? The Rebbe told him that this is a Kabbalah. The Rebbe didn't know this is your issue, this is your struggle or not. But this is something which it's like an anchor that could change a person in general. Rabbi Solomon used to say that he said he used to sit for days and days he would sit with Rav Shach. He asked Rav Shach, he wants shimush in learning how to give people advice. He said he sat with Rav Shach for a few days. And he said that this one comes in, that they need a bracha for parnasa, this one comes in, they need a bracha for children, this one comes in. And he gave everyone the same thing. He said, you should makabel to say benching from a bencher. So he eventually asked Rav Shach, everyone has the same. So he said, this is something, same idea. This is something that when a person does this, they take everything more seriously. Because now they're already being more miyushav, they have to make sure they have a bencher wherever they go, they eat more responsibly, they're thinking about what they're saying. Birkas Hamazon is a very, very powerful bracha if you think about what you're saying. And this is Rav Shach's eitzah for many, many wide range of problems he used to have. There was actually a maisa similar to the other maisa that a guy came to Rav Shach for some sort of hatzlach. He said, be makabel to say benching from a bencher. And he was doing it and it was working, and all of a sudden it stopped working. So he came to Rav Shach and he said, it was working, it stopped working. He said, did you ever miss? He said, did you ever miss this? So he said, basically, no. He said, what do you mean basically? Well, now I think about it, I was on an airplane and I was stuck because I had eaten, and there were people this side of me, people that side of me, and I didn't have a sitter, and I had no choice. On an airplane, I didn't have a parachute. What am I supposed to do? So I benched without a bencher. So Rav Shach says to him, no. Does anyone know? He said, you should have taken out a paper and a pen, written out the benching, and then read it from there. When a person makes a Kabbalah has to be that you make a Kabbalah. That's it. So that is those are types of things which are all encompassing. It changes the person. It changes the person because it hits many different areas of life. I myself had a story. It doesn't matter, but okay, I'm getting too elaborate here. But the point is that these are two yesodos, I would say, and how a person can think about utilizing making a Kabbalah. One is making a Kabbalah in an area that a person struggles with, that a person's been struggling with, and almost given up on, but thinking about taking small steps, and then a person gets the siyata d'shmaya, a person gets the refuah, and a person can wake up from that tardema of yush, of giving up on that. And second of all, there's certain areas that are transformative. A person is makabel, like that story, Ma'ariv. Why is that so important? Because now a person's shaykh to a tzibur. A person's not floating around on their own. They're week to week and no one knows what's going on. No, every day he checks in. Every day he's part of the tzibur. He has people looking out for him. If he's a regular at a minyan, so now people see him day in, day out. He has a schedule. He has something, right? So, and it's davar pasha that any Kabbalah in limud HaTorah is also transformative. A person is makabel to learn one extra mission. Torah by its nature, and our neshama was created that Torah transforms people, and it's also a transformative type of Kabbalah. And these are ways that we can perhaps utilize the time, if we think about it properly, to continue growing, Be'ezar Hashem, and Hashem sees the Balatar, and if we do it this way, we'll zoicha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees we're Balatar, Messiah Noisai, which we zoicha, to Ksiv Chsima Toiva, good Kebench Dior, and all Yeshuas for Klai Yisrael, Be'ezar Hashem. Thank you.